So Dubtown, Dub Browns. You can't spell Browns without that dub.
At least the last 2 weeks you can't.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I know.
Lost two on the road and then won two. And feeling good. Feeling good, looking good. Uh it was interesting game. There's multiple points in that game where like we're not gonna lose this or we're not gonna be able to win this. And then I'm like, we're definitely gonna win this. Then we're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Joe Flacco's throwing three interceptions. But he led a awesome game winning drive and really I think never lost confidence in himself. That was huge. Joe Flacco continues to provide these great passes that get big chunk plays, and um, yeah, I think he's like a saving grace at this moment for us, man, as we kind of push down the stretch of this NFL season. And I've talked to my brother a lot about this, where as much as we hurt and we have 14 people on IR, um, I feel like we are just scratching the surface of our potential and Joe Flacco's uh his ability to connect with people like David Njoku, which was so good this past week, Amari Cooper, which was so good, his built-in relationship with Elijah Moore, and even Cedric Tillman's getting the ball, David Bell, like Jordan Atkins, we're getting these players involved, and I feel like it's just getting started. Um, And I feel like it's with a lot of teams that are starting, a lot of like the big teams in the NFL right now, especially the AFC, are kind of having growing pains at this point in the season. And I'm kind of like, well, I feel like we can still prove and do more with this current team that we have compared to like a lot of these other teams. I feel confident. This defense continued to be obviously with a couple of injuries, but very strong. And this offense, I think just doing enough has been going a long way. And I don't know. I'm getting weirdly confident in this set of B string guys across the board. But I don't know. We're a couple weeks away from the playoffs, but I mean, hey man, another dub, and we're coming into a week where we go to Houston on Christmas Eve to a CJ Stroudless Houston team. How do you feel?
Well, we get to see an old friend of ours in Case Keenum if
Hmm.
CJ Stroud cannot go.
Yeah,
Um, the Texans are also probably going to be without their leading pass rusher, Will Anderson. Um,
has not
but
practiced yet.
yes, this is a very tough Texans team. They're really good at being ball hawks in the secondary. They're still
Absolutely.
very good, still very well rounded defense. They're a little weak against the run, which is
Mm.
a good thing. Um, offensively, earlier on in the season, they had a nice set of receivers
Now
until
they're like diminished, brother. Like it's
they're pretty banged up at the moment.
it's hurt my
Um,
fantasy team. That Tank Dell injury, Nico Collins has been in and out of the lineup. Um, yeah, offense has been a struggle, and I don't know where the hell Damian Pierce has been at, dude. He was like a fourth round pick for me in fantasy, and he's been like right now. I look at my fantasy chart, dude, and they project him getting 3 points against us. Three
uh,
points,
I, I
dude.
don't.
Like,
He had
but
like
like you,
115 yards last week.
but that's like, but then outside of like, I think week two, he hasn't done anything. So it's like Devin Singletary's been like the guy the last like 6 weeks. Like,
Well, that's a good set of running backs there, at least.
definitely is.
That's it. That's going to give them some, um, some push against the Browns defense. That's pretty poor against the run. Um, but as far as the Browns, they come off a nice close win. You had to dig deep in the fourth quarter Joe Flacco struggled in the first couple quarters and found life in the fourth quarter. That's what you want out of your starting quarterback. That's what winning teams do. If you're down with your back against the wall, you'll be able to fight back. That's exactly what they did. 13 points really, it seemed like it was a smaller deficit than it actually was. Um, you turned the ball over 4 times in that game. You gave them every opportunity to just absolutely run away with it, but you didn't. Um, the only scoring drive the Bears had was off um, an interception.
Pick
Um,
six. Yeah.
yeah, and they got the ball at the 1 yard line. So the
Yeah.
fact that it took them four plays to punch that ball in tells you a lot about this defense.
Yeah.
Um, we can sit here and talk about last week against the Bears. It's a good win. They slowed down Justin Fields, who's been kind of warming up, but it's a Bears team that struggled all year. Um, their defense was very impressive. I
Sweat
would
looked
think,
great, man. Sweat looked
yeah,
great.
Sweat did look great, but it just shows you where the Browns are as a team. I did think at some points in the game, I thought, well, maybe this is their breaking point. This is where they're going to hit that brick wall
Yeah.
with with their injuries.
I was gonna say,
But
dude, especially that line. Like, can we talk about the line real quick? That
yeah,
offensive line is obliterated. Like, it's not even close to what it was in the beginning of the year. We've lost three of our tackles, and they're really good tackles, and they're just gone.
and you don't have Poichich, and you might be without Batonio again
He has
this
not
week.
practiced yet this week.
So, I mean, look, if Stefanski can win the 11 games, he deserves Coach of the Year. It's it's honestly kind of ridiculous at this point that they've been able to win so many games with all these injuries.
We're 9-5,
Um,
brother. That's crazy.
I know, and they're knocking at the door of 10. Um, you want to feel confident going into this game. Um, it's a Texans team that's kind of been up and down all season. They've
Sure.
had some very remarkable wins, but also some really silly losses. Um, just like one against the Jets, not 2 weeks ago, where
Panthers.
they went into New York and lost 30-6. Then they dropped one to Carolina in a field goal shootout. It's just like, well, where do you go from there? Um, this is a 6 loss team. Um, they're still very young. They have a lot of upside.
A
So
lot of
there's
upside.
it's one of these games that it could get really ugly, but it could also get really good for us. Um, it just kind of depends what kind of Browns team are we going to see. I really hope that the Browns defense shows up again. Um, I thought the back safeties they had to fill in for the starters played very well. Ronnie
Hickman.
Hickman, Ronnie Hickman graded out really well with PFF. Um, and then D'Anthony Bell with the game sealing INT.
Yes.
I thought I thought he had a pretty solid game as well. JOK has been absolutely phenomenal.
He
Everything that we hoped for when we drafted him.
Dude, he's becoming like a game breaker. He
Yes,
really is. He's becoming that guy where it's like he's faking a blitz and then he goes for it and it's like almost a guarantee he's either going to get a sack or the quarterback's going to scramble out and throw the ball away. He is so good and how they're utilizing him right now is like a dream scenario for him. And it's been incredible and I'm so happy to see it.
yeah. And it helps with Miles being banged up and Denzel being banged up that we're seeing other guys really start to step up. That you drafted them to see this step up from them. Um, I think another guy that flies underneath the radar is Cam Mitchell. Um, he's been very solid against the run.
He might have won us that game.
Game winning play.
Yeah. He tripped up Justin Fields in the open field on that, what, 4th and 1 or 4th and 2?
Not only did he do that, but he got through a block on the edge to make a shoestring tackle to stop Fields
It's
a
awesome.
half inch short.
Literally half an inch.
Yes, and that's why you draft players, for big time plays like that. And it
Sure.
really paid off. It really paid off for the Browns this week. Um, he's really stepped into a solid role. I think Greg Newsome has been a big help. There's been
Absolutely.
games that he's been shredded, but you know, the game he had against Jacksonville was phenomenal. You could say the same thing about Emerson. Um, you're just
Yeah.
starting to see guys that, they were more background players, the Denzel and Miles really starting to play through and carry this defense. Um,
Yeah.
but
And
but
that really goes back to like how great, and this is props to Andrew Barry of how good he is at filling in holes and just drafting quality players that are NFL ready and NFL caliber guys. And that's something that you don't really see that often, or some people just swing for the fences and be like, wow, this guy's a big name, but I think Barry looks at it as like this guy will actually produce and make actual plays and be relevant in the NFL down the line during his rookie contract. And it's so nice to see that some of these guys are even so like Ronnie Hickman was undrafted out of Ohio State. He stepped in and played great. Like Cam
D'Anthony Bell
Mitchell
was
was a
good
what a
as
fifth
well.
round pick, right? Cam Mitchell's a 5th round pick. Like, dude, like that's the kind of players, and that's what makes your team good now, but also this is what makes your team good in the future when salary caps really starts getting stretched. Like you need these players like this that we're talking about right now down the line.
Exactly. But going forward for this game this week, I think the Browns really have to get this ground game going and our Royal Donuts keys to the game. Um, they've been really down in the dumps when it's come to running the ball the last few weeks. Um, 26 attempts for 30 something yards. Um,
Yeah,
that's from a combination of running backs, and that is piss poor. And we're
it's
talking about
bad.
almost a yard per carry.
Yeah,
Um, this is still the number seventh ranked offense when it comes to running the ball, and it's just not there right now. And it doesn't seem like they're really giving themselves opportunities to run the ball more. You got a 38-year-old quarterback who's had brilliant games, but in each of those games, he's thrown the ball over 40 times. Um,
yeah.
we're just kind of at the point where when is the magic starting gonna run like wear out?
He can't throw it that many times.
We can keep this going. It's not a with the way this team's built. You're not gonna win many games with this defense and throwing the ball 40 times.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, if Joe Flacco can do this for all the way to the Super Bowl, then he should be making seven digits, or take that back, probably like a 9-digit contract because that's pretty phenomenal football there. That's Patrick Mahomes kind of stuff, or Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Um,
yeah,
it just at this point in his career, we cannot rely on him to do that every week. Um, he is someone that just came off the street no less than a month ago.
true.
Um, to continue to ask him game in and game out to throw the ball 45 times on average
Yeah,
is it's going to be too much. They got to be able to get this ground game going. They're playing the Texans defense that struggled against the run. They lost some big plays last week. um, against the Titans. Um, and we really got to see Jerome Ford really start to develop because ideally that's our future.
Sure.
Um, we don't know what it's going to be without Nick Chubb, and I think it's time we start to see more out of him in this upcoming weeks because it's contract time very soon, very
Yeah.
soon.
And you look at, we don't have this conversation at all where, I mean, Nick Chubb had a very brutal injury. And at least for me, like I don't expect him to come back and be like the best player and best running back in the NFL again. It might take half a season, if not more, in my opinion, to like really be able to play like Nick Chubb has. So having someone like Jerome Ford really go out of this season on like a high level is going to be huge. And we've seen this. It's very much like an up and down type of season with our run game where we play really good, then really bad, really good, really bad. And like just some stats this past week, man. Kareem Hunt had 7 attempts for 8 yards. That's a 1.1 a carry. Jerome Ford, 8 attempts, 20 yards, average of 2.5. And with Pierre Strong, 2 attempts, 2 yards. Something needs to change there, and they really need to kick it in gear. Now, I will say, I think why we're struggling so much in the run game is that, dude, our offensive line is so beat up. It's so freaking beat up where we can't do like a swing tackle anymore, or swing the guard out to block because then like there's a free guy and you can't really trust James Hudson to block an open guy, and it's either that defensive player and Jerome Ford or make that block on an instant. I don't think that skill level is there. So I think that's where it really beats us up and why we're really seeing all these like problems in the run game is that our offensive line is so freaking beat up, man. Um, that if one thing is going to suffer logistically, it's the run game. So we need to figure out how to utilize those guys, and we've done a lot with the check downs, but and quick throws. But if we can at least do something this week to really boost everyone's confidence in that run game, I think it's going to go a long ways down the stretch. Um, and I think another key to the game here is just control Case Keenum. Case Keenum, as we saw, doesn't really have the most amazing arm in the world. Going back from his Cleveland days, uh, he's an older quarterback that kind of struggles with, longer passes. So, look for a lot of passes that are kind of, intermediate, over the field, maybe probably within that 15-yard window, is kind of where he specializes in. So if we can really shut that down and kind of don't give him that opportunity to make those quick plays that we kind of see, and I think really at this point can only really make. I think they're going to rely on the run game. The run game has been very good, um, and our run defense has been kind of limited. But I think that's going to make them one dimensional, as we talk about all the time. Um, and we talk about throwing, super amazing. We're top five in lowest completion percentage in the NFL. Three of them are on the Browns. Crazy stat. Um, so I think that's going to be a huge factor in this game.
All right, well, let's just step right into cowtails. Who do you think should be our cowtail this week?
Dude, cowtails, that's a great thing. Great question. We just talked about the run game. Man, it's that whole crew. I think it starts with Jerome Ford, obviously, is our number one back. But I think those guys, even with a beat up offensive line, really need to start it going no matter what. So against this, I don't want to say this offensive line that for the Texans that kind of has been giving up decent amount of yards on the ground, but someone that's without Will Anderson to really take advantage of that and make our offense not one dimensional. Having Joe Flacco being able to take and like you mentioned, not throw like last week he threw 44 times, man. I'd love to see a game of we win a game and Joe Flacco throws it 50 times. Like, I don't want that. Like, let's have it down at like 30 maybe or 25. So, yeah, that this whole run game or whole run crew.
All right. Well, I think it has to go to the Chief, the master of the cowtails the last
Dude, he's
couple weeks.
so good this year.
Oh man, talk about a breakout season for the guy.
Yeah,
I mean some big games, big plays for the guy. Back to back weeks over 100 yards. I mean a remarkable touchdown to the back of the end zone this week.
beautiful.
Um, he's been Flacco's guy, and hopefully he can continue that and be a spark for this offense. Um, you know, when you're at this point in the season, you're banged up, you lost guys for the year, you need someone to step up. And he's been one of those guys that's just been phenomenal for them. He's took on that leader role so well for this team. They're they're going to move forward because of players like David and Joku. Um, so Mike Lewis, real estate games to watch. I gotta go within the division. It's December. It's AFC North football. You got the Cincinnati Bengals head into the Steel City to face the Steelers. You want to talk about a game that has AFC wildcard implications? This is the one, and it's somehow it always starts in the AFC North. Um, the Bengals have been on a run the last few weeks with Jake Browning kind of giving new life to the Cincinnati Bengals since Burrow has been out for the rest of the season. And then now you have the deadbeat Steelers who were the front runners in a wild card now have found themselves way out of the wild card trying to find their way back in. Um, both teams are coming in at 7-7. Um, one comes off a 3-game losing streak. Another one comes off a 3-game winning streak. Um, so I really think with Jamar Chase out this week, going into Steel City, Mason
Yeah.
Rudolph being named the starting quarterback for the Steelers,
Wolf.
this this sets the framework to be a pretty good game, and it's a rivalry game, so you can throw records right out the window and what you've done the last 3 weeks before. And to tell you the truth, I think the Steelers are going to come out of this one with a win.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how Mason Rudolph plays, right? If he plays decent, I think it could go a long way. But I did find I don't know, it keeps refreshing on me. I knew I had it in my head, but I didn't want to act like an idiot. Um, but the 49ers versus Ravens, because I think obviously the Ravens have a very tough schedule coming up. And if they dropped one to the Niners, which, could easily happen, two very, very, I mean, they're tied. If you look at like the whole NFC, AFC, they're very tied. They're 11-3 both. Two very good teams. And it would be awesome to see them drop another one and us start to kind of claw back. If we keep winning and they keep losing, it could be very interesting and very unique. And I also just love watching that 49ers team play. I think
Oh,
it's super fun to watch. So yeah, I'm go Niners. But it's be a cool one. So what are you feeling for this game? What's your prediction? Um, it's a tough one, but I think, in my opinion, Browns are going to pull it out. I'm going to go 23-20 Browns. I think Case Keenum's going to have a decent game, but I think our defense is going to kind of like just kind of take over at some point, and Joe Flacco is going to be Joe Flacco.
all right. Well, I'm going to go 16-7 Browns.
Wow,
Um,
it's only 7 points, huh?
yeah, I think this is going to be one of those odd games. Um, Houston really didn't put up much points last week. It's only 19-16. Um, but they're not going against the Tennessee Titans this week.
True.
Um, they're going against the Cleveland Browns, who've been very tough against the pass. Keenum's prone to making boneheaded mistakes. Um, you know, we should be very glad we're not playing CJ Stroud at this point in the season. So I think the Browns are going to come fired up and try to punch their ticket this week. Um, a win within the next 2 weeks gives the Browns a 99% chance to get in the playoffs. They're
Love
sitting
it.
at 92%. Um,
Yeah.
but if we win this week, there's 8 different scenarios for them to get in. But I'd rather them just win and win next week and call it that. And we can worry about Cincinnati later on. But let's win
Yeah.
this week first.
So, yeah, with that being said, uh, yeah, it should be an interesting week, and it's going to be a short week as after this game on Christmas Eve. It just a few short days later on Thursday night we play the Jets. So it should be interesting. But I believe that one is at home. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um,
It's
it's at home, so yeah, hopefully we
Thursday
can add
night
another.
football.
Yeah, I can add another dub. So, uh, with that being said, have great holidays and go
Makes
Browns.
witness.
Make it. Go Browns.
Go Browns.